You formalize a storm. They tear your mind asunder. They keep your body warm. Look in her eyes for one happy day after you feel it going away. Once it's gone out, the taste of its laughter starts in a starless day.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Second Eric here. It's a little cooler in here today. I don't know what the deal is, but I decided to make the video anyways. Thanks for all the feedback on my last video regarding the AI song. You know, I think the day I listened to it on that Friday, I was pretty hyped about it. I figured, you know, I was thinking to myself, is this really legit? But I knew the photo was AI for sure. I just wanted some confirmation, see what you guys thought. But the more I listened to it, I was like, yeah, something's up with the arrangements. Although, you know, I've listened to some AI tracks, and you can definitely tell, but this one convinced me the most. I thought they nailed the style down pretty well. It impressed me enough to make a video on it. But today we are doing Acid Archive Diaries number 12. Finally getting around to this one, and this is one that is a pretty cherished relic in the collection. One that I've talked about plenty over the years. One that have been on my want list for a long time. And considering there's no vinyl reissues, there's like one CD unauthorized reissue. Back in like 2010, I think it came out. But as far as the original artifact itself, this has gotten pretty scarce. And today we're talking about the Medium, self-titled here on Gamma label, which was, I believe, a pretty fairly common label up in that area of Montreal, Quebec, and this is recorded there as well. Not a whole lot known about this group, unfortunately. I don't know much of their backstory. But they were featured in a film back in the day, a film called Wow. I think it came out in 1970 or 69, also out of Canada. It was like a French-Canadian counterculture film, you know, so it's in a different language, but there's some awesome clips in there for sure. It looks like it's a kind of a cult classic from that area. But yeah, the Gamma label, they've released, I think, all sorts of different styles of music, you know, considering, you know, some classical records, is that right? Other records that I can remember are in French, so, you know, I'm kind of lacking in that area as far as speaking that language, but yeah, kind of looking at the cover, you know, they look like some interesting dudes, you know. One and only album, and stylistically, they're kind of hard to pinpoint. You know, they're coming from like an early progressive rock sort of sound, but there's definitely some lingering late 60s psych trappings on here for sure. More in the kind of rock realm than pop. And you can hear some of the arrangements are pretty zany on first few listens. You would think maybe they just kind of improvised around these different tunes, but they sound really well rehearsed. Sounds like they really took a lot of time rehearsing these tracks, laying them out properly, and it just has these different mood swings. It goes from very soft, quiet, kind of more slower, kind of a turtle pace, and then they just get really frantic and upbeat, sometimes within the same track. Like the first track, New Thing. What were the other ones? Give Me a Piece. The Mouse is also notable for that. But as a whole, it just kind of really flows in this kind of natural progression. Not a whole lot of like individual pieces to point out to get you started, except for maybe the closing track, Stars, which I think is a big highlight off here, the closing track. And I'll put that in the intro here. And I'll put some of the film footage in there too for you. And the film footage is actually, I think, the actors mimicking the musicians being the medium. And those are non-LP tracks. They were never released. I think they were only featured on that film. I don't think any of these musicians really went on to do anything else. Just mentions the sound engineer. You know, really nothing about him on the back here. This is a Canadian press, obviously, printed in Canada. So yeah, I'll just let you guys search it up on YouTube yourself. Give it a listen, see what you think. Like I said, I would listen to the full album, you know, straight through if you just to get kind of the first impressions. You know, tracks like New Thing, The Mouse. In Between's also very kind of cool, bouncy little track, and then the closing track, Stars. And everything in between, there's like these little segments that happen, kind of reminiscent of maybe Soft Machine. They also maybe recall some sounds of like Fluff on Verve with the organ going on. And the organ player, James Solkin, he wrote all these tunes as well. And it makes sense. He's definitely a wizard on that organ. And he's got the vocalist too. Who does vocals? Robert Ellis. He does harmonica. I think there's only really one track, Stars, with harmonica on it. And it's not really in a bluesy kind of way. It's kind of used in a really unique way. He's got a very baritone voice, kind of like a really moody, maybe post-punk kind of voice. So yeah, giving this a little highlight here. Check it out. And it sounds like there's been a few attempts to get this thing reissued, but these guys are just so unknown that it's just kind of hard to track them down, and nothing's happened yet. It's just really desperate to be getting the repress route. So, yeah, The Medium. I don't know what else to say about it except just read the blurb from the Acid Archives here. I got this kind of prepped here. I haven't read it yet. The Medium, Montreal, Canada, 1969. Gets the 2 rarity. And this is pretty obscure nowadays. I mean, I don't even see copies popping up on Discogs very often. Here it says, usually this band is listed as medium, but the album cover clearly defines them as the Medium, which takes on a whole different meaning. This Canada Psych album is pretty interesting, starting with a trippy instrumental full of organ and fuzz guitar, and moving on to dreamy ballads and slightly heavier, but never fast, songs. I mean, they're pretty fast. The guitar playing throughout is somewhere between jazz and angular San Francisco-style noodling. There seems to be little or no attempt at melody, which actually makes the solos pretty distinctive and weird. An organ-guitar battle on Give Me Peace is especially fun. The songs don't follow traditional verse and chorus structures at all. The singer has a deep voice but isn't exactly soulful or bluesy. This album is pretty freaky. What may have happened if bands like Aorta or Day Blindness didn't bother to tidy up their loose ends. The style wears a little thin by the end, as the songwriting on side 2 doesn't really offer anything new. Still, this is something most of you will enjoy. It has some similarities to the more satirical and pop-oriented Rabble, also from Montreal. It's a pretty solid review there. Yeah, I forgot to mention, there is maybe one weak cut on here, and it's like the middle track. It's like a ballad. 2x2, I think, is the track. It's like a very soft kind of piano jazz pop piece. Really off-putting considering the rest of the material here, but this is a cherished piece in the collection, like I mentioned. Got pretty lucky on a Discogs deal. It was not up there very long. I made an offer, and it was a pretty good deal. I had some funds at the time from sales I'd made. That's how you do it. So thanks again, Acid Archive Diaries, kicking in full gear here. I got my next one queued up for whenever that may be. I'll try to push it out maybe this week yet. We'll see what happens, but till then, check out The Medium, and we'll see you soon.